him and Michael Jordan met at the top 50. They were inducting the top 50. They were like top 50 of all time. And him and Michael are in the corner, and this is corroborated by guys that were there. Bill Walton was there and told me the story directly.
We're joined by a true original NBA champion, TV personality, and one of the most colorful big men to ever play the game. Am I right?
I mean, I got to be up there. I got to make the list just for from the hairstyles and the facial. I mean, I'm still doing it. I'm old as hell.
Yeah, I see it. No, it looks good. It looks good. From battling legends on the court to surviving reality TV, this guy's done it all. Buckle up for stories, insight, and a whole lot of personality. Let's go. Welcome to the pod, Scott Pollard. The way I like to start off my pod is by asking some rapid fire questions, right? And what is your go-to pregame meal? What was it?
So it depended on if I was in home or on the road.
Okay.
On the road, I would typically order a cheeseburger or some sort of protein meal, maybe a chicken. Probably not eat the bun, but just have that protein. And I'd have it delivered at a time like right before the bus got there, but right before it was time to leave on the bus. So I would take my afternoon nap. I'd eat a little lunch post practice or post shoot around, and then take a little nap and have that food delivered right around the time it was time to get on the bus. So I'd grab it, eat it real quick, and then go out to the bus. And then sometimes I'd have the ball boys get chicken strips pregame.
Really?
In the locker room, yeah. Because I think it's different now, but in my day, there would typically be snacks. Some of the wealthier teams would have a better pregame spread, but usually it was just a minimal like fruit and some of those power bars that were awful. And so yeah, but at home, I would get a good meal in myself. I'd get a lot of protein in at home. And then I'd go spend the entire afternoon at the practice facility working out, usually running on treadmill for 15 to 20 minutes, getting a couple miles in.
Right.
And then sometimes I'd get hungry and order some chicken strips from the ball boys before a game. But again, it also depended on who we were playing, how much I was going to play.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
and so it was like, sometimes like, yeah, I'm not going to see the court tonight. It's a fast team, and coach, or I'm injured, or whatever. It's like, oh, give me the hot wings.
What was the weirdest fan interaction? I know you have a few.
There's a ton. The weirdest one, I got to say, was also a wonderful one. This guy was trying to get my attention, and I was leaving the court in LA playing the Lakers. And it was halftime or pregame. I can't remember if it was pregame or halftime, but I was leaving the court and I knew I was coming back out. And this guy's like waving at me and he's like, Pollard, Big Lebowski. And I was just like, that's the movie, and I know that movie and I love that movie.
Right.
But I was like, this is kind of wacky. This is LA. Who knows what this guy's doing? And this is back in the Stone Ages. They didn't have the security back then that they do now. And so I was just like, yeah, dude, whatever. And then I came back out and the security guard, our team security guard goes, Joe, he goes, hey man, this guy's trying to get your attention. He's got something for you from the movie Big Lebowski. And I go,
oh, wow.
Oh, that just changes everything.
Wow.
And so I was like, well, just grab it from him and like talk to him, make sure he's not crazy, and I'll meet him after the game.
Right.
And so he got the stuff from him, brought it in the locker room. Post game, I'm like, dude, give that guy some passes. So got him some passes, and I went out and talked to him. This man gave me a movie-worn wardrobe from Jeff Bridges the overalls. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Big Lebowski.
Of course, yeah.
You know the scene where he's like, it's actually Kenny Rogers with his first band. Nobody knows this, but I just dropped in to see what condition my condition was in. That's Kenny Rogers singing. Nobody knows that, but that's Kenny Rogers. And that scene, he's in those like the beige putty colored overalls with the tool belt on it.
Oh, he gave you that one.
Dude gave me one of two. There was two, and it had the tag from the cleaners on it. Jeff Bridges wardrobe, one of two, and it was in the plastic from the cleaners, documented, and the bowling shoes from that scene that Jeff Bridges wore.
Wow. Okay.
And yeah.
All right.
So
welcome back.
Talked to him for a little bit, and then they were like
today,
we had to skedaddle because we were going to like Utah or Portland or whatever.
Did you ever see him again? Original.
Nope.
NBA
never saw him again. But I was like,
just the one shot deal. TV person.
And it was really weird.
One
Never
of the
knew
most
his name.
colorful big.
He was just like, I knew you were a fan of the show. I wanted you to have it. I was like, dude, that is really cool. So just it was weird, but it was wonderful. Just a generous man that just, I don't know why he thought I needed that, but it was really cool that he did.
I hope I get a lot of viewers actually, right? So I hope that if you're watching, man, shout out to you.
Yeah.
Right. So
I hope he sees this because that was really cool.
Oh no, absolutely. Favorite city to play in?
Okay. When I was younger and I was playing for the Kings, it was Dallas because we played in Dallas a lot. And so it was, that was when the new arena got built. Now it's old, but the American Airlines Arena got built downtown. So we always stayed at this one hotel. We knew where to go, all the restaurants, the places we could go and hide and not be in the public eye. And so we just had Dallas wired because we were there so much. And so that was my favorite place to play. And, the crowd, again, they were happy to have a decent team, a good team. Right. Playoffs, we play them in the playoffs, and it was a good crowd, but mostly it was just people watching, man. This is, I don't know what the crowd's like now, but this was Mark Cuban's era of, when people were trying to see and be seen a little bit like LA. And so there was a lot of money, that big oil money. That was showing up, and you'd see these women on the sidelines is like, that is 90% plastic, but I am not going to not look at that. That's like, and Vlade, we'd joke with each other, me and Vlade, we'd be at lamp lines, I'd be like, Vlade, are those real? And he'd go, real nice. But
I met Vlade back in the day. Super cool
boys
guy.
Being boys, nothing serious about it. Absolutely. Just boys being boys. We're in our 20s.
Do you still watch basketball now?
No, not the NBA. No.
Really? Wow.
No.
A lot of ex-pro players say the same exact thing. They don't watch basketball.
So it used to be just because I've watched enough, and I just was done. But now I haven't. I played enough and I've seen enough that I was like, this isn't entertaining to me anymore. I know what's going to happen. But now I have a little bit of an aversion to it, and it's probably because I'm getting older. But now it's just the style of play doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's very carnival type basketball to me. I think it's a product of several things. Mostly to blame is AAU, and I could go off for a long time about why. But I don't believe that the product is worthwhile for entertainment purposes. It's not only do I know what's going to happen as a former NBA player, but even the crowd knows now that they're going to come down and jack a three, and then no one's going to go after the rebound except one guy, and then that guy's going to dribble the ball up the court and shoot another three. And it's like,
hey Scott, I think I think there's one person to blame, actually two, right? And I'm not cool with either or, but I've met one, and so I won't mention his name, but I'll mention the other guy's name, Steph Curry. Right? I think he's to blame.
So
I think so.
I will say it a different way.
Okay.
The game of basketball is jazz music. It had always changed, and it always will change based on the best players. Mm-hmm. So if you got a guy that really plays the saxophone, guess what? Jazz music's going to go right into saxophone style.
Correct.
And that's how basketball works. when Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell and Shaquille O'Neal, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the centers dominated the game. And I played against the tail end of the careers of some of the greatest players and the prime of Shaq.
Yes, you did.
Of some of the greatest players in the history of basketball as far as centers go. I got to play against Hakeem. I got to play against my childhood idol, Patrick Ewing. I played against some of the best centers that ever played. Yao Ming, I got to throw him in there because that dude was a treat. But also the tallest guys ever, Sean Bradley, Big George Mirasan. I played against those guys too. So I know that era, and I'm not alone in thinking that part of what made basketball so entertaining during those eras of the big man is that people played a position.
Correct.
It is that Michael Jordan wasn't trying to post up every time down the court. He posted up when there was a mismatch. He would go take advantage of somebody like, oh, you're going to put this guy on me? Okay, bring me the ball, and I'm going to back him down. I'm going to score on him, and I'm going to shoot a jumper. It wasn't, I'm 7'4", and I can shoot threes, so I'm gonna.
Right.
Just because I can, because I think of a guy like another legend that would have probably been one of the greatest of all time, maybe the greatest of all time, if we'd have caught him in his prime, Arvydas Sabonis. I played against him when he was 115 years old, and he was still dominant. But what he did was he shot threes. Why? Because his legs were broken. Dude was 475 years old when he was playing in the NBA. By the time he got here, he wasn't jumping and dunking like he did. That dude was so far past his prime. When you see footage of him, you can Google this guy. Every foreign player, and I played with and against a lot of foreign players and guys that played Olympic basketball, and they're like, dude, that guy in his prime was
amazing,
unreal.
Yeah,
jumping and dunking on people, blocking every shot,
passing. He
dominated Europe. Like when they speak of him in Europe, they speak of him in hushed tones. Like he is the greatest player ever to come out of Europe. Vlade had so much respect for him, and Vlade was such a trailblazer himself.
Another great
as a guy that is given credited for bringing the European guys over. And so, anyway, when people play a position, there's always going to be an outlier, right? Like I'm saying, Arvydas Sabonis shot threes, but it was because he was at the end of his career and he could shoot threes with great effectiveness, and he also passed with great effectiveness. And he still had great moves inside. He would take people inside and put them in the basket, but he wasn't trying to do all the stuff he did when he was younger in his career,
right.
Because he had slowed down. But that's a generational talent. Now you've got guys that are 7'4", and they do everything on the basketball court marginally. They don't excel at anything. They're not shooting threes at 48%. They're not shooting in the post and putting people in the basket every time. They're not even shooting free throws at 80% or above. These mothers are marginal. And so that's where I have a problem with it, because just like, every 6'5" kid now is like, oh, if I don't shoot the three, I'm not going to be able to play. Meanwhile, you got a guy like Johnny Furphy. I'm going to use a current player because he went to Kansas and now he's with the Indiana Pacers, to bust open this narrative and ruin it and destroy the game of the NBA game for everyone that's watching. Johnny Furphy is 6'9". That dude, if you haven't heard of him, just Google his summer league dunk, because he dunked on the entire planet this summer. It might be the greatest in-game dunk that's ever existed. It's incredible. And the face that the poor guy he dunked on might make that kid never play basketball again.
Wow, his
that
face
bad. Just goes,
it was that bad?
Horrible. It's horrible. You feel bad for that kid. When you see the dunk and then you see the after effect shot of his face, you're going, oh, I feel bad for his parents.
That bad?
So
Jeez.
It's awful. And so Johnny Furphy, this man shoots threes, but what he did at Kansas that made me fall in love with him as a player is he could do this, which nobody does anymore because the nerds in the front office. He did this at the three-point line, got somebody to jump, took one dribble, stopped and shot a 17-footer, and it went in every time. Name another player that does that. Oh, that's right. Just Larry Bird. No one does that now because the nerds in the front office are saying, do not take that dribble. Do not lose the point. Stay where you are and shoot the three. Why? Because to your point, Steph Curry. So I will give Steph Curry credit where credit is due. I will not blame him other than being the greatest shooter of this generation and causing everyone to want to emulate him. But the problem is they can't. No one else is Steph Curry. He is Steph Curry. That's like saying, I'm going to be like Michael Jordan and be able to bring the ball up the court and dunk on most of the team. Doesn't matter how tall they are. I'm 6'6" and I'm a freak. That is, there. You can emulate that, but a lot of people have tried. Only Kobe somewhat succeeded. Kobe had the mentality, but he did not have the killer instinct that Jordan did.
Okay, so I have this
and I'm
question.
not taking away from Kobe, but Michael was much, much better.
I have this question, right? Since we're talking about Michael, and I've asked literally every single athlete, ex-ball player, current ball player on this pod.
Wilt Chamberlain, and it's not close.
Wow. Okay.
How many 40-point games? How many 50-point games? How many 60-point games? How many 70-point games?
Okay.
It's not even close. They changed the game to stop Wilt Chamberlain. This is his quote, not mine.
It's true.
When him and Michael Jordan met at the top 50, they were inducting the top 50. They were like top 50 of all time. And him and Michael are in the corner, and this is corroborated by guys that were there. Bill Walton was there and told me the story directly. These guys are in the corner arguing amongst themselves, those two. And they're like, guys, come on, break it up. And they're like, no. They're arguing of who's the best, who's the greatest. And they keep going back and forth. Well, I did this. Well, I did that. Well, I did this. Well, I did that. And they both had great arguments. This is Bill Walton telling me the story. And he goes, but when it finished, David Stern came in and they had to be pulled apart. Not like they were fisticuffs, but they were They were raised voices. And as they're partying, they're like, we got to go. They're introducing all of us. They're still dragging butt. And they're like, come on now. And as they get up to leave, Wilt looks at Michael and he goes, just remember this. They changed the rules of the game to stop me. They changed the rules of the game to make you great.
Wow.
And that is a fact.
Wow.
That is a fact. Offensive goaltending, defensive goaltending, 3 seconds in the key. They made the key bigger because of Wilt Chamberlain could stand on both sides of it when he started playing basketball. My dad could. My dad and him are the same age. My dad could stand on both sides of the key when he was in high school until they widened it. Because of Wilt's dominance, they had to create all these rules. They were like, okay, yes, I will give you this, young people. Basketball was not what it is now back then. But Wilt Chamberlain ran a 4.6 40. Wilt Chamberlain had a 44-inch vertical. Wilt Chamberlain ran the 100-yard dash at Kansas and broke records. Wilt Chamberlain was a freak athlete in every possible way. You can Google stories of Arnold Schwarzenegger saying, I have never worked out with anybody stronger than Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain would go in and grab a stack of weights, put the whole bar on there, and do tricep extensions. And Arnold Schwarzenegger's going like that. Wilt was incredible. And, oh, by the way, after his NBA career was over, he played professional beach volleyball for 13 years.
Yes,
he played beach volleyball longer than he played basketball.
But you know what, Scott?
Why
why isn't he in a conversation though?
Because it was in the 60s and 70s. There was no game. There's no TV on him. Nobody can see it.
Right.
They have to rely on the oral history, the radio history, and people don't want to hear that nowadays. People want visual evidence. You tell people something that you can prove with video evidence these days, and they still argue with you. Nah, that's not how it happened. Like, there's video evidence. Imagine trying to say Wilt scored 100 points. There's people saying, no, that didn't happen. Like,
I believe it.
Come on, the radio broadcast exists.
I believe it.
And they didn't even keep block shots back then. Wilt Chamberlain led the league in assists because the previous year his coach said, you don't pass enough. So Wilt went ahead the next season and led the whole NBA in assists. He averaged a triple-double. They didn't even keep block shots back then, or he probably would have averaged a quadruple-double. The guy was like, there is no one ever that's going to be that way. And they say, okay, he was playing against plumbers. Well, guess who he played against more than anybody else? Everyone else's second favorite or first favorite basketball player from that era, Bill Russell.
Right.
And Bill Russell has said multiple times, no one can touch Wilt. And that's coming from the guy who is probably the greatest winner in the history of the NBA with 11 rings. He's got more rings than fingers. So when you talk about the greats, I can't even discuss Michael Jordan and LeBron in the same breath as the
That's
man
right.
that destroyed basketball. He destroyed it. They had to remake the rules to fit him because he would be so dominant in this era. This dude, you can't step across the free throw line before the ball hits the rim because Wilt used to take a couple steps back and dunk his free throws.
Wow.
That's a fact. The circle, you have to stay in the circle because Wilt would take a couple steps back and dunk his free throws. So they're like, well, can't do that anymore
No,
because
that's
that's not
wow.
fair.
Yeah, that's not even. Yeah, that's not even right. Don't even
Yeah.
sound normal.
So many things that Wilt did that even if those rules were not in place today, they would have to create them to stop him. He destroyed that. He didn't just play it; he destroyed it. He changed it forever. No one will ever do that to basketball.
You mentioned Patrick Ewing. I'm from New York, right? I was born and raised in
I
New
can
York.
tell.
I like you. Me and you are best friends now, Scott. So I live in Jersey.
I've heard that.
I live in Jersey now. Not too far from New York, a couple of hours away. But I'm a huge Knicks fan. And did you since you mentioned Ewing, did you ever meet Patrick?
Yeah. So my rookie year, I played against him.
Do you have any stories?
And then, well, that was my welcome to the NBA moment because everybody has those. Some of them, it's like, oh man, I scored on somebody, or I'm playing with this. Like, I'm a Detroit Piston rookie. I'm the only white guy on the team, wondering if I'm supposed to be in the NBA. Still trying to prove myself as a first round pick. And all of a sudden, I'm in the Garden playing against Patrick Ewing, who as a kid I idolized the way he dunked the ball. Like he was always like he was trying to rip the rim off the basket, and I love that. And dude, just he was long, and he used every inch of his frame to just dominate on both ends of the court. I loved it. I watched him at Georgetown. I actually considered going to Georgetown. I got recruited by John Thompson because of him. And so then I'm actually playing against him, and I was like, wow, he really does sweat a lot. that was my first thing. But then, he ended up, I think he played for Orlando and maybe another team at the end of his career. But then he was retired, and we ended up hanging out one time because I was in Houston, and I think Alonzo had just retired, and they were there to see Dikembe, and I think Dikembe was still playing in Houston. And all of a sudden, I'm like, because John Barry was on the Houston team at this point, and so I'm hanging out with John Barry after the game. He goes, oh, hey, some of the guys are going over here. So we go over there and we walk in, and it's the Georgetown alumni. It's Patrick Ewing, it's Alonzo Mourning, and Dikembe, and we're all hanging out in this place. And that was a fun night.
That's it.
Yeah.
You can't say much.
That was a really, really fun night. That's it. That's all I have to say about that.
Who is the best trash talker you ever faced? And that is the last one for the rapid fire.
Best trash talker I ever faced. It's hard, man. There's so many, and I'm drawing a blank of guys that did the actual. Yeah, I mean Charles. I played against Charles for a brief moment at the end of his career.
Yeah, and
Charles, he just talked a lot. It wasn't like it was directly at me. I mean, he bashed me. He's like, "You really, rookie? You're going to guard me?" That kind of stuff. But it was more just he would be talking the whole time. It was more like he was commentating the games. Like, "Oh, he's going to cut down here. I'm going to throw him the ball." Like, okay. But Kevin Garnett also just talked a lot, thinking that was going to get like part of his mind game was to try to get into your mind by talking trash.
Psych you
like
out.
It was going to throw me off. Yeah. And, as someone that grew up with four brothers that are bigger than me, guys that were aggressive didn't resonate with me. I didn't understand bullying. It just didn't resonate. Maybe I'm too stupid or something. I don't know. But it didn't resonate with me when people talk trash to me. So that one, like I'm discounting Charles because it was just a lot. Kevin because it didn't affect me. Tim Duncan, the thing about Tim is I knew he had a chip on his shoulder against me because when we were freshmen in college, he'd been playing basketball for like 5 minutes and he was at Wake Forest, and I dominated him. I've been playing my whole life, and I had a really good game, and we knocked him out of the tournament, and he never forgave me, and he kept getting a lot better, and I just kind of got a little bit better as our careers went on. But so he always had a chip on his shoulder against me, and so I knew when he said something to me, I had gotten to him, and that was like a big boost of confidence for me because he did not talk. And so if he said like, "Ooh, gotcha," I'd be like, "Oh, he's struggling. Like he's happy he got one on me." I'm like, "Yeah,
that's right."
I had to make him work for one, you know. And so that's why it sticks out, because it was like he didn't talk, he just played. And so that one, I guess, you know, not that he was a big trash talker, but that's it.
You what was it like, Scott? Right, being a part of that 2008 Celtics team, championship team. What was that like?
So I retired, actually. The previous year, I'd been to the finals with LeBron and the Cleveland Cavaliers in 07. And that was my 10th year. And that was my goal when I was a little kid. I was like, I want to play in the NBA for 10 years, and that'll be a dream. And I did it. And I was relatively healthy. And so I was like, all right, I'm done. You know, it was a 1-year deal. They didn't pick me up for the second year option. And I had some other teams calling me, and I was like, I don't really want to go play for a team that's not going to make the playoffs. I've been in the playoffs every year of my life, high school to college, and every year in the NBA except my rookie year. And so I was like, I'm not going to go play for some team at the end of my career that's just going to be a horrible situation. You know, I was just spoiled that I was always on good teams with good dudes that wanted to win. And I didn't want to go sign with somebody like that. So I was done. And my agent said, Boston called and they want you. I said, Boston can't afford anybody else. I'm a veteran exception. I only count against the cap for half. So I understand that they're just out of options. They spent all their money on Paul and Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen, and they need a bargain. And so I was like, all right, not really. And then my financial advisor was like, hey, you know how you like to be on those small planes where it's just your family and nobody else? If you take this deal, you could do that more often. And I was like, okay.
You didn't travel with the team?
That was really. No. I just mean like when I would travel like with my family.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Personally, on occasion, I used to be able. I can't afford it anymore. But that was my motivation, was being able to charter a plane once in a while to go on a family vacation, because it's time travel. It's never worth it. It is so ridiculously expensive. Still to this day, it's not worth it. But it is really nice living in a place like, well, for example, Indiana, where I live, waking up, driving to an airport that's 10 minutes from my house, that's not the international airport, and being on the beach in, say, Turks and Caicos in 3 hours. That's a much different experience than going to the Indianapolis International Airport, spending an hour getting through security, getting to the gate, checking your bags, commercial travel,
right,
and then having a layover, and then getting to the next, and then maybe your bags get lost or whatever. It's time travel. And so that was my motivation. I was like, I do like time travel, because there's nothing better than being on the beach before noon when you wake up at home in Indiana, for example.
Oh, yeah.
Again, and it could be all different types of places, but instead of spending an entire day and being worn out and dragging your family through a layover, and then, on the way back, you fly into a little town. I don't want to say it, but there was always a little town that we would always go through when we got back to America, because you would never guess there's a customs there, and there is a customs there. And so you flew private jet right into that little town, and they would just get on the plane and be like, welcome back, have a good trip, and we'd leave. That was clearing customs when you flew private back then. I don't know if it's changed, but that's how it was back then when I could afford private travel. So anyway, that was my motivation to get on the Celtics. I got there. First day, we're practicing because we're going overseas for the preseason. We're going to London and Rome. And so we're practicing. Tibbs is out there. Tibbs. We're full on practicing. It's September. We're not supposed to be, but we're full on practicing with coaches, taped, going. And then after practice, pickup game. First pickup game after practice, first day, I roll it. And I'm going, oh, that was really bad. But I am showing off. I'm like, I belong here. I'm playing well. And I'm like, nope, it's okay. It doesn't hurt that bad. Because again, my left leg is mostly numb because of my back injuries from previously in my career. So it doesn't hurt that bad, but I know it's bad because it's blowing up in my shoe. My shoe's getting really tight. I'm going, oh no. And so I played the rest of it, about another 2 hours of pickup games. I go in after, I take my shoe off and I cut the tape off, and the trainer goes, excuse my language. He goes, Jesus, man, what the fuck? I go, oh, I just rolled it. It's fine. He goes, when did you do this? I said, first game. He goes, something's wrong with you.
It swelled up?
And so, oh yeah, it was balloon. And so I was just like, dude,
Wow.
I'm a bleeder. It's fine. It'll go down. So I iced it up. Next day, went back in and kept playing. And it didn't really go back down this time. Something was wrong. So they did an MRI, and that's when I found out, like I was talking about earlier, like I found out it was really close, and they were like, you're getting surgery. It's just a matter of if you make it through the season or if you just do it now. But no matter what, within the year, you're getting surgery because this isn't going to heal. And I was like, well, I'm just going to play it out. So I kept icing it, and I would do restricted stuff throughout training camp. And then we go to Rome, and I'm walking around Rome in my flip-flops, and I'm just icing it. I'm not even playing over there. I'm just icing it. And I'm walking, and Danny Ainge, the GM of the team at the time, is walking behind me because it's got one of those group things. We're walking through the Vatican or something. He goes, Scott, how's that ankle? And I go, it's fine. It's great. I think I'm going to play as soon as we get back.
Right.
And he goes, that doesn't look very good. And I was like, well, we talked with the training staff, and they're here. So it's like, I'm better off here, even though it swelled up a little bit from the plane ride. It's better that I'm here with getting daily treatment than back home with, maybe the backup to the backup trainer doesn't show up, and I'm not getting any treatment at all. And he goes, yeah, I'm going to talk to him. Next day, I'm on a private flight back home, a commercial flight back home. He sent me home. I didn't even get to go to the game in Rome.
Oh,
I didn't get to go to the Coliseum. I didn't get to go to London with the team. I got sent home I got sent to the principal's office. So,
oh my God.
So that's when they really were like, dude, you probably should consider surgery. And I was like, absolutely not. I am not missing 4 months and coming back maybe in February and already not have a place in the rotation. I got to earn a spot in February. I've got a spot now. I'm right behind Kendrick Perkins. So I'm in. And if Kendrick gets hurt, I'm starting. This is it. And that's what happened until February when he was out. And then I told you the story already.
So you got signed on a veterans
veterans
minimum?
exception.
Okay.
So it was over $1 million, but I only counted against the cap. It was like 1.4, I think. But I got full salary, but the NBA paid half and the Boston Celtics paid half, and I only counted against the cap for half. So that's what that was. And I think they used to call it something else. I think it was originally the Bird exception, or maybe Jordan forced the Bird exception to actually be able to play. But whatever it's called, it was called the veterans minimum. If you had over 10 years, that's what you got to qualify. And that's what helped keep the guys like me in the league longer, that, had a function to serve, but weren't quite ready to retire and could be a locker room, a guru in the locker room. And so
yeah.
That's what
presence.
that
Yeah, for sure.
rule was.
How close you think the Kings, right? How close you think that squad was to a title? Because you guys had a squad.
Yeah, well, it was Game 7. We were 1 game away. Everybody talks about Game 6 in the Western Conference Finals in 2002 and how this or that happened. Fine. Let's say the conspiracy is true. Let's say the NBA cheated, whatever. We had Game 7 back home, which is what you do. You earn Game 7. We had the best record in the NBA that year. We were the best team in the NBA that year. And we went home and we gave 2 superstars the opportunity to be superstars. And I'm talking about Kobe and Shaq in their prime. And we allowed them to have a Game 7 moment against us. And that's why, I don't really like talking about Game 6 stuff, because it's like, we still had Game 7. And what did we do? We went home and we couldn't make shots, and I got subbed out. I was having a pretty good game that game. And even to the point that when Vlade subbed in for me, he goes, I held off as long as I could. He made me come back in. I told him, no, you're having a great game. Like, Vlade didn't even want to come in because I was playing so well. I was having a good game. And then I got benched the rest of the fourth quarter. And I'm not saying I'm the reason we lost. I'm just saying that was one of the reasons. And we couldn't hit shots. We crapped the bed. and that's where I go, that's it. Because later on, years later, when I was teammates with Brian Scalabrine in Boston,
Yeah.
he was on that Nets team that was waiting for us. And he said until game 4, they weren't even looking at the Lakers. They were not scouting the Lakers at all until game 4 because they knew we were going to win. So they were 100% focusing their scout on
you
the
guys.
Kings until all of a sudden game 4, they're like, all right, we should probably look at some Lakers stuff just in case they pull it out, but there's no way they will. But let's just be prepared. And then they go around and then, and you know, of course, that Nets team, it didn't matter if it was the Lakers or us. Whoever won the West that year was going to win the championship. I'm not trying to kill the Nets. They deserve to be there, but we were the best team in the league by a lot. And
you guys should have won.
We gave up. We got ourselves to game 7 and we allowed Kobe and Shaq in their prime to have game 7s. And that's what superstars do. They perform in game 7s. And ours, we didn't.
I was rooting for you guys.
I hated the Lakers. A lot of us did, you know, and we had Europe rooting for us because our Euro connection, man. We had Peja, Hito, and Vlade. I mean, we had Turkey and Serbia rooting for us, and all of Chicago. That's the East right there because there's, I don't know if you know this, but Chicago has the largest population of Serbians not in Serbia.
Really? Okay. Wow. No, I did not know that.
The whole Chicagoland area down to Hobart, Indiana. There are more Serbians in that area of the world than anywhere else in the world besides Serbia.
Besides the country in itself.
Yep. And then we went to New Jersey and we played out there and the Turkish flag was flying high. We played back in the Meadowlands, back in the, you know, when it smelled. And the whole 4th level, that was a big old arena. The whole 4th level was all Turkish flags. Yep. We called him Turkish Michael Jordan. Because everywhere he went, it was Turkey flags, but no, he was especially loved out there in Jersey.
Absolutely,
yeah. There's a lot of Turkish people out there because there was flags like the whole 4th level was all Turkish. So yeah, I mean we had Europe rooting for us, we had the Midwest rooting for us, and a lot of people that just hate the Lakers rooting for us. So yeah, we had a great following. We were a fun team to watch, fun team to play for. Man, those were good days.
New York was rooting for you. 1,000%. We hated the Lakers.
Jersey, right?
That's it. We hated the Lakers. That's it. We hated Jersey, the Lakers. Yep, we was rooting for you guys. You were on Survivor, right? What was tougher, guarding Shaq or surviving on an island?
Guarding Shaq. Surviving on an island was a blast, man. Look, my wife is part Asian. Her mom is from Thailand.
Okay.
And my kids are from they're all mixed. And I've been to Thailand a lot. And so my season of Survivor, when we got to the LA and finally knew for sure where we were going, it was Cambodia. I was like, oh yes, this is my people. This is my section of the world. Like I love Southeast Asia. I love the heat. I love the culture. And all of a sudden I'm on the beach. Yes. Now the culture had nothing to do with it because it was Survivor. It's not like I'm interacting with locals.
Right.
But that was an absolute vacation. I loved it. I lost weight. I don't care. I've done so many horrible things to my body to be a professional athlete. You think being hungry on a beach is bad? Nope. That was a blast. I was eating coconut. I was going up to the water thing. There was a big old tub of water. They didn't show that because they don't like to show that. But they were like, oh no, everybody boils their water. We couldn't get a fire going, so we didn't boil our water. I was like, you know what? I'll just take the stomach bug. I never got one, but I just went up to the thing and just drank water and ate coconut until we finally got some food and got a fire going. But yeah, that was a blast. Garden Prime Shaq. That's why my career was only 11 years, man. I would have played 20 if I didn't have to guard Shaq in his prime and Yao Ming in his prime and the tail end of Patrick Ewing, the Hakeem the Dream, and Tim Duncan, David Robinson, Karl Malone. I had to guard all them big boys, man. Dikembe Mutombo elbowed me in the face
was scary.
Once. Yes.
Karl Malone was scary.
Yeah, that dude. And the thing is he moved so well for that big of a body. Like he wasn't the tallest guy. You know, he listed at 6'8" or 6'9". He wasn't quite that tall, but he moved that body so well. You would never think that he weighed that much. And he was quick for that big body.
I think his body fat was like 4 something, 4 point something.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. He was
One
all
thing I learned
mass.
from him early in my career was the whole running before the game. Because up to that point, I was like, I got to conserve my energy for the game. And then I heard him talking one time. He's like, I run a mile or two before every game. And I was like, that dude starts and plays every minute of every game. I need to run more. I'm not in good enough shape.
Yeah.
And that's what started me doing that. And so I never got tired. From that point on, I went on a treadmill before every game and I would run at least a couple miles because I didn't start most of my career. I started most of my games, the games I started were in Sacramento, but I only started about 100 games in my whole career. So I knew I wasn't playing 48 minutes a game. I definitely
Really?
needed to be running on the
I thought it
treadmill
was
beforehand.
more.
No, I thought so too. I think I only started about 100 games in my career out of 11
Oh,
years, but
okay.
it was a good run. I'm not mad, but I know for a fact when I did start, I averaged a double double, and so that's the fact that it is out there. Those games that I did start, I averaged a double double in. But most every NBA player, not everyone, but most every NBA player can do just about anything with a basketball that you want to see them do. It's just that, again, in my era, I was a lot better at setting screens, rebounding, and blocking shots, and taking up somebody else's foul when they fouled him, and I was close by. I'd raise my hand and take the foul so Chris Webber doesn't foul out of the game.
Right.
I was a lot better at that stuff than shooting 3-pointers when you're looking at Mike Bibby over there, or you're looking at Peja Stojakovic over there, or you're looking at Hito over there, and you're looking at Ray Allen over there, or Reggie Miller over there, and I'm going, I'm going to shoot a 3? Nah, I'm going to go get him open, and he's going to shoot a 3.
He's going to shoot
and
that
then
3.
if he misses, I'm going to do what I do best, which is tip that thing in. And so that's what is different about my era versus now, where it's like, oh, I'm 7'3", and I'm going to shoot a 3-pointer, and I'm going to score 30% of them, and the
You're
nerds in the
7'3",
front
Scott?
office are going to be really happy. No, I'm just saying that's what
Oh,
guys are now.
okay. I'm like, wait.
Instead of using their body to go be in the post and be dominant at something, they just want to be marginal at everything, and that's why I can't watch the game now.
Oh yeah. No, I agree.
But anyway, I wrapped all that into my rant.
You went through something life-changing, right? And you know what I did as well, which is wow. We have so much in common, Scott, believe it or not. But can you take us back to when you first found out you needed a heart transplant?
Wait, what's the teaser here? Because I want to know what you went through too.
So how can I put it, right? So for one, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, right? And
Okay.
I had a how can I 'cause I don't want to give out too much information right out there, but
All right, well then skip it. I'm the one that's on trial here. That's fine. I don't want you to give up because I know it's personal.
A drastic accident, very like horrible, right? Life-changing. I mean, I should have been dead, just point blank,
okay.
period.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah,
Didn't mean to put you on the spot
horrible.
like that.
No, it's okay.
I'm open with my stuff, so I assume most people are, but that's all right. No, I get it. I know people that are very private about their stuff.
No, not because of you, Scott. No, not at all. Not at all. It's not because of you. It's because of people, right?
Yeah, circumstances. Yep, I got you.
Right. But hey, I'll text you my number and I listen. Well, I'm sorry to cut you off, Scott. One thing I always say, right? And don't take this personal, right? Don't take this personal, because I'm sure you can beat me up. But to me, I'm glad we're doing this podcast, right? I'm glad. I'm beyond glad. Listen, you're a legend in my eyes. I've watched you play, love your game. Can't believe I'm doing this pod with you, right? I mean, that's just how I feel, believe it or not. I mean, to me, you're still Scott, right? That I used to watch back in the day. But to me, what's more important is a friendship, right? I can care less about this this episode, this podcast, but not really. I mean, to a certain extent, because it connected us, right? But for me, what's worth more is a friendship, right? To see
Yeah.
how you doing, Scott, right? To see if you're taking care of yourself, to see how's the family, to shoot you a text here and there, to shoot you a phone call here and there, right? That's to care about your well-being. That's what I'm more invested in, honestly, than just the podcast, just an episode, right? Quote unquote. And I just wanted to let you
I
know that.
appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Right.
I
And I'm
appreciate
sorry
that.
for, interrupting and cutting you off. I'm so sorry about that.
No, no, I'm the one being interviewed. You're not. I was just curious, but no, I'm happy you're here. I'm happy that you've gotten through your life changing incident as well. Mine, it started. I've known about my father passing when I was 16. He was 54. So obviously I've known about that my whole life. I've always been concerned about my heart, but I've never had any heart issues. My
Right.
dad presented in his mid 40s, probably late 40s, and then ended up passing at 54 because back then your donor had to be your size. Well, my dad was 6'9", 380, and the doctors were like, "Look, anybody that's got a heart that's big enough for you is not going to have a good heart either. Like it's just you're going to die basically. Like when you're done, we're not going to try to give you a heart from a normal sized person because it just won't work.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd be wasting an organ." So when he got his diagnosis, it was a death sentence, and we all knew it. And so he lasted another 10 or 11 months, and he ended up dying. But so I was always concerned about that because it obviously made a big scar in my soul. But I never had any issues. I'd always had it checked. The NBA checks players every year. A player named Jason Collier died in his sleep, I think in 2003. And so from that point, they started screening every NBA player for heart issues
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't want that anymore. First of all, for the players' sake, but also it's not a good look for the NBA if players keep dropping dead. And like, why are these players dropping dead with heart issues? So to my knowledge, there's only been one player since then, the annual screenings, that's been denied to play basketball in the NBA, and it was Ike Austin. And he gives speeches, and he accepted the decision because
Mm-hmm.
he had a bad heart, and he knew it. And he's still with us, but they knew the rigors of NBA basketball wouldn't work well for him.
Right. Right.
And so he accepted that, and he's not tried to play through it. But as far as I know, anyway, I'm not trying to tell his story. But so I was fine. I got my heart checked every year. Wherever I was post career 2008 to 2021, everything was perfect. Everything was normal. I had a little bit of a dilated heart valve, but it wasn't leaking. So they were just keeping an eye on it because it was too big. But they were like, "You're too big." So it's not a problem if it's not leaking. It's at some point if it starts leaking, we're going to fix it. But up at
Mm-hmm.
that point, it was not. So everything was perfect. I got it checked in January of 2021, and they said, "Hey, you should probably get a COVID shot." I said, "No, I'm not doing that." They said, "Well, you should probably get a flu shot." And I said, "No, I'm not doing that either. The last time I got a flu shot was in 1999 when I got traded from the Detroit Pistons to the Atlanta Hawks. And I got a flu shot, and I got so sick that they ended up cutting me. I missed training camp because I was sick for a week straight. It was a lockout season. So this was the spring of 1999, and it scarred me. I was like, I'm never getting another flu shot ever because it didn't work for me. I'm not telling anybody what to do with your life. I'm not telling you don't do this, don't do that. I'm telling my story. That's it. And so I never got another flu shot. They said, "Well, you should get a flu shot because it'll at least protect you if you get this COVID thing." And I said, "Look, I'm healthy. You just told me my heart's perfect. I don't want to do this." And so they wore me down. They said, "Well, it's scary. We don't know what this virus is going to do." And so I got a flu shot. And 2 days later, I couldn't walk across the room. And what we know now is it released, the virus attacked my heart. I got a flu virus. They wanted it to be COVID really bad. They checked me for COVID a bunch. I didn't get it at that point. I hadn't had it. And it was just a flu virus, and it released this genetic issue. And so they think that's what pretty much happened to my dad. So maybe I would have gotten it anyway, but it was the timing of this happening right after I got a flu shot means I'm not getting any more flu shots ever. Again, that's me. You do you. And so I went right into heart failure. My heart was beating 10,000 extra beats a day. Every day it was like I was running uphill. I was tired. I would pass out. I couldn't sleep because I was just laying there and my heart was just going. Blah, 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 blah. It felt like squirrels fighting in my chest.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. And so after 3 months of heart failure, drugs and all this. You know, they're trying to plan this thing called an ablation where they put a wire in your groin and feed it up through your artery up to your heart. And so what was going on is it was short circuiting, right? So there's in your heart there's plumbing issues and there's electrical issues. I had no plumbing issues, no blockages, everything. My heart, blood pressure, everything was perfect. Cholesterol, all that stuff still is, always has been perfect. Pipes are clear. So this was electrical, it was a short circuit. So they're like, okay, we're going to do an ablation. And so we scheduled it for June. And they still kept saying, you need to get the COVID shot because if you get COVID now, you're going to die. And I was like, so I got a COVID shot. It was the first one was fine. 2 weeks later, I get the second one. And immediately I'm going, uh-oh. My heart hurts.
Something's
my heart
wrong.
hurts. Yep. And 2 days later was my appointment in Chicago to go get this ablation. And so I go up there and they're like, you don't look good. I said, this hurts. Something's wrong. And so they did a scan of my chest and I had myocarditis and pericarditis. They immediately admitted me to the ICU. They canceled the ablation. They can't do an ablation with an inflamed heart. And my pericardium, there's a little sac that holds your heart. That's called your pericardium.
Mhm.
Mine was constricting my heart because it was so inflamed. It was holding my heart hostage. And it was squeezing it. And they actually were about to consider open heart surgery to cut it open to save my life because they said this inflammation has to go down or it's going to squeeze your heart and you're going to die. And so that was one of the discussions they had while I was in the ICU on IV steroids, trying to get the inflammation to go down. Luckily, they didn't have to do that. The steroids ended up working, but it missed my ablation, which was hopefully maybe going to save my life. And so it delayed that. But anyway, ended up getting 3 ablations over the next 3 years. They did not work. I tried every drug that there is. I tried a drug that they don't even use on people anymore that have what I had because it kept killing them. But they were out of options. They were trying anything to avoid transplant. Mm-hmm. This drug came in a glass bottle. The pharmacy called me and said, it's going to be a couple weeks. We have to get it shipped over here from somewhere else. We don't carry this stuff. I went in there and the girl that handed it to me with gloves on. She said, don't touch it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I looked up the side effects. First side effect, death.
What? No, seriously. Wow.
No joke. First side effect, death in a glass bottle. I was like, you know what? I'm probably going to die anyway. I got to do what they're telling me to do. So tried that one and it didn't work either. And so they took me off of it. I was only on that one for about 4 weeks. And it didn't do anything good for me.
How'd you feel? So, how did you feel taking it?
The side effects of that one were not really noticeable because I was having so many side effects from everything else. I was on a lot of drugs. And so the other drugs were just so rough on me that by this point, this was one of the last new drugs they tried on me, or different drugs. It wasn't new. But it was one of the last ones. And I just remember going, I don't feel any different. And they were like, yeah, if it was going to work, it would have worked by now. So we're just going to take you off of it because clearly it's not working. And I didn't feel any better at all. And they did my numbers, they did my blood, and they checked my heart. And they were like, yeah, it's not doing anything. So not worth the risk. So they took me off of it. But the 3 ablations didn't do it. They said it was like whack-a-mole. And that's how they knew it was genetic. Because if it had just been a virus that attacked my heart and caused this, one ablation would have zapped that short circuit. My heart would have healed and I'd been back to normal.
Yep.
But they said when they went in there, it was like whack-a-mole. They'd zap one part, burn that, kill the heart tissue.
Something else would pop up.
And then another one would pop up behind it. Mm-hmm. And so they were like, the last ablation, they were all by the same man. He's the best in the world, Dr. Upadhyay at University of Chicago. Because I'm very fortunate that I have friends that are cardiologists from the teams I play. You know, I kept in touch with people. I talked to people. I talked to the staff. So I liked my trainers. I liked my doctors, and I liked lots of opinions. And so I called people, and I'm like, who do I go? And everybody was like, Dr. Upadhyay. So he came well recommended. He's one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world. And after the 3rd ablation, he came out and my wife told me the story because I didn't talk to him. That one was 8 hours. That was longer than my transplant. And he came out and he said, I've never given anybody that much heat before. And he said, I'm not going to do any more on him. This was the last one. He's like, I'm not even going to try again because I'm just going to kill him. He goes, there's nothing left for me to do from his what his specialty was. He said, I can't do any more because I'm just killing him the way that it's going. He said, I'm just burning up pieces of his heart, and it'll end up killing him. So he's like, I'm done. This was it. He's still got it. And I woke up feeling the same from that one. That one took me a month to recover. I was in bed for a month after that. That was rough. That was not as bad as my transplant, but that was the worst thing that I had done to me, other than my heart transplant. But anyway, that was January of 23. And then I healed from that one. And my cardiologist here finally said, you need to start talking about transplant. And of course, I told you about my father. I was like, oh, so I'm going to die. That was my first thought. I was like,
Right.
oh, well, I'm done.
Right.
Because I'm too big. I'm too big to get a transplant. And he was like, no. And he educated me on the process, and he educated me on organ donation. He educated me on, the technology is so much better now than it was in 1990 and 1991 when my dad passed. And the donor didn't have to be my size. The donor he had to be a big man for sure. You're not getting a heart from a woman. It had to be a big man. But they said it can be done. But to get listed in as many places as possible. So I got listed here at St. Vincent's as a status 4, which is the highest one you can have without a device called an LVAD or being hospitalized. And then I went to the University of Chicago about a month later to go through their testing protocol to get listed there. And I got done. I was not feeling that good, but I got done. And then they called me as I was driving home. I was almost home, and the doctor goes, I just got your data from Indiana, and I wish I had it while you were here. He goes, it's not bad enough for me to tell you to turn around and come back here, but it's pretty close. He said, be careful. You're not going the right direction.
Right.
And he knew I was going to Vanderbilt the next week to go through their testing protocol. So he's like, rest up this weekend because you got to do this again next week in Vanderbilt. So went down to Vanderbilt thinking I was going to be there for 3 days doing the same thing, the testing. And day 2 at Vanderbilt, they were like, you're not leaving. We're done. You're going straight to the ICU. You're not leaving here without a heart. There's nothing else we can do, and we don't need to see anymore. And so that's what led to it. That was the shortest version I can give of my heart transplant, heart failure journey leading up to transplant. But that's what it was. Everything else was fine. Everything else was healthy. It was a miracle after 3 years of heart failure that I didn't have another organ fail, which actually really quickly, that ended up being one of the hardest parts about recovering from transplant, is for the first 6 months, I was just sick. I was so sick, just ill. It wasn't like I was vomiting, but I just felt like I had the flu for 6 months. Just everything hurt, and I smelled awful. I'd shower, and a couple hours later, I'd start smelling again. And finally, my cardiologist at Vanderbilt was like, you're not just recovering from transplant. You're recovering from 3 years of heart failure. Your body was shutting off. It was getting ready to die. It's a miracle you didn't need another organ along with your heart. You're lucky your kidneys are coming back. You're lucky your liver. A lot of people that get heart transplants end up needing a kidney at the same time or a liver at the same time because of that. So my body's being starved of oxygen for 3 years, and I'm thinking I'm just going to bounce back right after just getting a new heart in there. No, my body had to wake back up. The oxygen had to go back to the rest of my body. And I was like, oh, and that made a lot more sense for my dumb athlete brain to comprehend of how much more I needed to do to get back. Like I needed to push myself. I needed to push this heart to get more oxygen off to those remote spaces in my body and keep detoxifying myself from death that was creeping in for 3 years.
How did your family handle it?
I'm sure it was tough. My two oldest, they're adults, and so they were there the day I was supposed to get a transplant the first time. It was what's the term? I forget what they are, but it was a false alarm, and the heart ended up not being the right one. So that one was a false alarm, and they left. And but they're adults; they have their own lives. We haven't been in touch too much since then, and they're doing their thing and supporting from a distance. But my two younger ones, they're in the house, And, my boys had to deal with that. They had to live with dad being in bed for a while. And it
Mm-hmm.
bothered my senior. He just graduated high school. I mean, his sophomore year, he had some, outside of school personal problems that we got through. It was hard on him, but he got through them and he persevered. And then his junior year, his dad's in and out of the hospital and getting a heart transplant. So,
Yeah.
he's a college football player. He's going to play football right now, but
Really
he'd
nice.
probably be at a bigger school if his grades had been a little bit better. But his cumulative wasn't that great because his sophomore year and junior year, he had some struggles that couldn't do much about that were very big distractions. And then his senior year, he gets a 3.1 in the fall, he gets a 3.4 in the spring. So he's back, normal kid
Mm-hmm.
because he doesn't have these horrible distractions. So he's ready for college. We're excited to get him there. And um, but the I'm sorry, I lost track of what I was talking about there.
That's
I
fine.
started getting excited about my son playing college football.
That's fine. No, that's great. That's great. I have a 4-year-old, so hopefully one day I sound the same as you.
Yeah. Oh,
You
you
know?
said how are the kids doing with it? Yeah,
Right,
and
right.
so the boys, the 9-year-old had some he was having some behavior issues this spring. I was in the hospital because I'm in Vanderbilt and he's here, and he wanted to be in
Yeah.
Vanderbilt in Nashville, and I live in Indiana. So he was having some issues with behavior, and then we finally got back to town for May and or the end of the school year, and he snapped right out of it. He was back. He was happy to have mom and dad back home. My wife saved my life. And I don't say this facetiously. I'm not trying to butter her up by any means. She saved my life. She's the one that talked me into it. I was ready. I was like, I've lived a great life. I don't want to see you. I don't want you to watch me die. I don't want to just get sick. I just wanted to be like my dad, where it's like I'm working one day and then I fall asleep and it's over.
No,
And
Scott, we need you here.
she she said, no,
Yeah.
she talked me into it. She said, this isn't about you. It's about me and your kids. You need to be here for us. You need to be here for
Amen.
everybody else in the world. And that was the verbal slap in the face that I needed. That saved my life. She saved my life just as much or more than the doctors, because the doctors wouldn't have got to me if she hadn't talked me out of it. So it wasn't that I was suicidal. It's not that. It was just I've lived a great life. I've done a lot of things, and now I've got more to do. I'm busy, and I'm doing things like this. I'm educating people about organ donation. She started a charity, and I'm a verbal spokesman for that. And that's my life now. I'm never going to go back to work. I can't be relied upon day after day. I have good days and bad days, mostly good days. I'm truthfully, I feel pretty good most days. But day to day, waking up and being able to be on for a job, I can't do that. So
Yeah,
I schedule appearances like this. We're going to a golf tournament next week, but I know that's coming, so I can rest up for it. I'm not going to
of
go,
course.
be busy leading up to that or working every day. And so that's my life now. And I'm just glad that, she gave me that, and she saved my life. And, we're helping educate other people and hopefully save some more lives along the way before I'm done here.
Absolutely. We need you here, Scott. Well, we needed you. We have you, so you're here. Yeah, we can't
Yeah.
lose no any more athletes, just anyone in general, right? I mean, education is key, is very important. And I thank you for that, right?
Yeah.
Let me
Speaking of
ask you this,
education, I have
Scott.
one myth.
Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
All right. Well, there's one myth that actually one of my kids even said this to me. She goes, "You use ESPN to get higher up on the list, transplant list." And first of all, that hurt badly because it's my own child. But second of all, I thanked her for giving me a chance to educate, because not only can Disney not do that, ESPN owned by Disney
Yeah,
they
yeah, yeah,
can't do
yeah.
that. If there was any uh, accusation of impropriety on the organ donor list, Vanderbilt, every doctor, the entire transplant program at Vanderbilt would be shut down. They did 174 heart transplants last year. They led that as a new world record. I was number 16 of 174 heart transplants. They did 680 something total transplants last year in 24, but 174 heart transplants set a record. You think they're going to risk that just for one guy, just so they can say they did Scott Pollard and cheat and get me a heart when somebody else deserved one more? No, I was dying. But second of all, I was on Survivor, And I didn't know this until last year when my local cardiologist here at St. Vincent's in Indiana told me, because he gave a speech at my wife's gala for her charity, and he talked about Anthony Mason, who, in my opinion, is, if not a Hall of Famer, he's pretty damn close.
Yeah.
Anthony Mason died at the Cleveland Clinic waiting for a heart. Now, if celebrity gets you up on the list, then how do you explain that? How do you explain that Anthony Mason didn't get
pretty
one?
loved in New York. In sports, period.
And a much bigger celebrity than me. And so that kind of proves that point, that that's part of what I like to do is educate people about the myths, because they think, oh yeah, this or that. Steve Jobs, one of the wealthiest men that ever lived, he had to wait on the transplant list. He needed a liver, and he still died. And the only reason he was able to get one is because he had a private plane on standby, and they called him, and he flew across the country to go get, like, instead of them flying the organ to him, he jumped on a plane and flew to the Oregon so that he could get a transplant. And he lived for a while longer, but he ended up passing away from cancer. But that's just one thing I like to tell people, because they're like, oh, you did this documentary, and that just all happened to be that it came together at the same time. That was luck that ESPN was there. They were trying to get to Chicago for the testing in Chicago, but they couldn't get it. Their schedule didn't work for Chicago, so they were going to Tennessee. And they had no idea that I was going to get taken in and put into the ICU. They were there to just film the testing to see what was going to happen. So anyway, sorry. I had to get that in. You go ahead with your next one.
No, that's fine. That's fine. You see that back there, right, Scott?
Yes, sir.
This is why I'm here. Right? And this is where I get emotional. I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to get it out, Scott. I'm sorry about that. Did faith play a role during your recovery?
So I grew up Mormon. My entire family is Mormon. I am not a Mormon. I went away from the church around the time my dad died. Before he passed away, I told him I wasn't going to go on a mission like all my brothers did. And that's what they do at 18 years old. I read the Bible a few times. I read the Book of Mormon a few times, and it just wasn't for me. But don't bash the Mormon church with inaccuracies. I don't like the TV shows. I don't like that play that's out there, because they're inaccurate. Be accurate. Make fun of it all you want, but be accurate. Be accurate if you're going to make fun of the Catholic religion. Be accurate if you're going to make fun of white people or black people, or whatever. Just be funny, but be fair. I don't like it when people attack the church with myth truths, even though I'm not a member. But having said all that, I believe that we're all universally connected. I believe we're all beings of energy, and that energy goes somewhere. When you pass, my dad, I feel him all the time. And so I know there's something for me after this. I don't believe the Christian version of it. I don't believe the Islam version of it. I don't believe the Buddhist version of it either, or what have you, the Jewish version either. But I do believe there's a universal connectiveness. And I will say that I felt all of the prayers from hundreds of people that said, we're praying for you. And I know that positive energy that they created helped me get through. So that is my version of what you believe in. And I fully respect what you believe in. I know that it's what carries a lot of people through in this world, is their beliefs. And that is my belief. My belief is, if you want to call it my testimony, that's what it is. Right. Is that when people are thinking along the same paths of positivity, great things can be accomplished.
That's right. I can agree with you. That's right. Did you ever lose hope?
Not after my wife talked me into it. I didn't lose hope. After the transplant, though, there were times I regretted it because I was so sick. I've had a lot of surgeries and I've rehabbed a lot of injuries, and I've been in pain multiple times. I've done a lot of hard stuff. That was the worst thing I've ever done by a lot. And the amount of pain I was in, just the surgery site, the symptoms, the side effects from, you switch from medicines that are trying to save your life to medicines that are trying to keep you alive. They're
Hmm.
very different, and they all have awful side effects. The drugs I'm on now for the rest of my life cause kidney failure. They cause liver failure. And so, a lot of people that get a transplant, they're like, oh, yeah, you got a transplant. You don't get to go back to normal life. Now I traded one chronic condition for another, but
Yeah.
I'm here. And so, is it daunting? Yes. Is it a tough life in some respects? Yeah, it's better now. I feel a lot better now than I did those first 6 months, 9 months, 10 months. There were little times where I would turn another corner and go, okay, I can live like this. But the first few months, I was kind of like, I don't know that I should have done this. This
Right.
this
Right.
this is not life. This is barely surviving, and it sucked. It was really, really hard.
But you look good, Scott, and that's what matters. You look
I feel
great
a lot better
now.
now. I
You
can
look
I can
great.
say I made the right choice.
You
My
look
wife
great.
made the
I
right
still think
choice.
you have three more years in you to play for the league. Yeah, go back to the league, Scott.
I can give them 10 minutes every game as long as I don't have to run or jump.
I have two more for
I
you,
can
right?
I can walk and push people. I know I can do that.
That's it. I have two more for you, right? And what message would you give others waiting on an organ transplant?
Um, do as much rehab as you can, as much physical activity as you can tolerate. Do that. I am 100%, not just because the doctors told me, but because I have seen it in other people that have been transplanted before me and after me. I am 100% positive that my being in shape my whole life gave me the ability to recover the way I did. So I know that everyone has different issues, that there's a reason why you're on the transplant list. And that's another myth, is some people are like, oh, well, why would I give you my organs if you abused yours? It's like, there's kids born with genetic defects and they need a kidney and they're not going to grow without a kidney. And
Right.
literally people don't realize your kidneys are why you grow. Everyone. If you don't have functioning kidneys, you're going to be a very small person. Kidneys make you grow. And so, I mean, in a nutshell, there's lots of factors, but kidneys are the biggest one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's a lot of it is genetic issues that people need an organ transplant. So, like myself, some of them are like very healthy in every other way of their life. I knew people, I've talked to people that are like, I was a marathon runner or I was an Ironman athlete, and all of a sudden my liver failed, and I never drank. And it's a genetic thing. Sometimes people just poop, 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 and something sets your body off like an allergy, and all of a sudden you're allergic to
Oh yeah.
bees, and you weren't allergic to bees before. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
that happens to a lot of people. It's not what you think in your mind, like, oh, somebody is an alcoholic, or somebody was, a drug addict and they needed a liver because they abused theirs and they need another one.
Well, for the
Those
most
people
part,
get
it's
screened
genetic.
out. Most part it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Some of those people receive them in the past, especially like Mickey Mantle is the most famous for getting a liver and then drinking himself to death anyway. But they screen those people out now. They question your lifestyle. You go to counseling and you do blood tests, and if you lie and say I don't do this, and they find it in your blood, you're not on the list anymore.
Right.
You
Yep.
get taken off the list because you're not a good candidate for a recovery. And so, my advice is to prehab. Be as in great a shape as you can possibly do. I know you're sick. I get it. I've been there. But do as much walking or just moving your arms, getting your lungs going as much as you can. Whatever it is that you physically can tolerate, do as much of that as possible before surgery while you're waiting, because it'll help your mind. And never lose hope. Don't lose hope, because your mind is more powerful than your body. Your mind is what is going to help you get through this. And again, I never lost
Yeah.
hope, because I had my family and I had my friends and I had lots of stuff to live for. I was just at the point where I was like, hey, it's fair. It's fair for me to pass on. This is genetic. I didn't do this to myself. It's fair. Like my dad, it was just my time. But I've been given this bonus time. And now that I can honestly say to people, I'm really glad that I've got this bonus time, and I never lost hope. But I know for a fact that my positive mindset, my mindset of I'm going to do this, is what got me through. If you don't think you can do it, you're right. If you think you can do it, you're also right. It's just a matter of your mindset.
That's it. Last one, Scott. If you can give the world one advice, what would it be?
Life is short. Get at it. You've been waiting to do this or that. It doesn't matter if it's a vacation, change a job, breaking up with somebody, trying to shoot your shot with somebody. Stop waiting around. Stop procrastinating. Life is too short. Get at it. Whatever it is, give it a shot. You will regret not trying far more than you will regret failing, being shut down, getting fired, whatever it is. Take the risk. Take it, because life is short. And if you make it to an older age, the only thing you look back at when your life is on the line, and believe me, a year and a half ago, my life was on the line. I started looking back. And the one thing that you will regret is not trying. Yeah, you know what? I was a coward. I didn't even go up to that girl. Or I didn't try with that guy. I'm not talking about, adults doing things you shouldn't be doing. I'm talking about, if you're a single person and you got another single person that you've been talking to or flirting with, take a shot. If it's this vacation you've always wanted to do, work harder, save up a little bit more money, and take that vacation. Do the best you can to make it that vacation. Do the things that you can do while you can do them, because you never know when you're going to get disabled and all of a sudden you're old and you look back like, damn, I never went to Sardinia. I never went to South Jersey. I stayed where I was. I was scared to do this. I was scared to do that. Take the risk. Life is short. Get at it.
That's it. Well, you guys heard it first. I thank you so much, Scott. I'm gonna text you my number if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
I think we follow each other. I'm not too sure, but I thank you so much, Scott. Again, in my eyes, you're a legend. I've always seen you that way. Whether you played a full game or 3 to 5 minutes, to me, it was the same. I see you as encouraging. I mean, thank you for inspiring others. And man, you're just great, Scott. Overall, you're great, man. You're great, man. And that's really all I have to say. God bless you and your family, Scott. Thank you so much once again. And yeah, we're out of here.
All right.